Hi everyone, this video is all about glimpses from our trip to the Netherlands and Amsterdam. And actually we took the train all the way from Malmö to Amsterdam Central Station. And we started our journey in Malmö, then we headed to Copenhagen. Then the train went onto a boat that took us to Germany, where we stopped in Hamburg and changed trains, and then we changed trains again in Osnabrück before heading to Amsterdam Central Station. And I wanted to include this part of the journey because it's a more sustainable way of traveling by train, and we really enjoyed it actually. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of flying, so training it all the way was the perfect way to just relax. You can read a book, have a sleep, enjoy the scenery, and you see so much more as well when you travel on land. And the whole trip took us about 14 hours door to door, which might seem long, but the journey is actually long, and that's something I think you don't realize when you fly places, is how far you're actually going. And here you can see us enjoying the sun on our last transit, which was in Germany. And we decided to take this trip to meet up with Rob's parents, and they actually used to live in the Netherlands, Rob and his brother and his parents. So it was a nice destination for us all to meet up in. And it's close enough from Sweden and close enough from England, so it was a good meeting point. On our first day in Amsterdam, we took a walk to an area called de Pape, I think, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, to have breakfast at a place called Coffee and Coconuts. It's not an all-vegan place, but they have lots of vegan options, and we had really good buckwheat pancakes and some avocado toast. Then we caught the tram, which is a great way of getting around in Amsterdam, and it's nice to see the scenery that way as well. And we headed to the Rijksmuseum, or Rijksmuseum, I don't know how you pronounce Dutch words, but it's a really beautiful art museum. And yeah, you can see some really cool paintings here. For example, you can see Rembrandt, you can see paintings by Vermeer, and lots of other fun things as well. And the building itself is really beautiful too, which is also a good reason to visit. After our visit to the museum, it was time for lunch, and we headed to a place called Vegan Junk Food Bar, and it's got lots of different burgers and fries and some Dutch specialities in a vegan version, which are called bitterballen, and it was all really tasty. Not super gluten-free friendly, but good. And then we headed over to a park called Vondelpark, if I'm not mistaken. And I hugged a huge tree here, which was the best part of the park in my opinion. But they also had parrots actually, which seemed very exotic for Europe. And then in the evening we headed to a place called Mr. and Mrs. Watson to try their nut cheeses. And we had a nice fondue and a cheese platter. I actually just really liked the smoked cheese, but we had some nice dessert as well. And then the next day, Rob's mother and I walked around the canals and headed to a farmer's market where they also sold other goods and crafts and secondhand vintage items. And we really enjoyed walking around in the sunny weather, around all the beautiful canals and the lovely people. And this food market was delicious. I wish I could have bought some food to take home and cook. And then we kept walking by the canals for a little while longer to enjoy the sunshine before we headed for lunch at Vagabond, an all-vegan place which also has a vegan shop. And we had some summer rolls, which were delicious. And this cake was the best. They had a Dutch traditional apple cake, and it was just the best apple cake I've ever had. And then we headed to the Van Gogh Museum, or as I've been told, the Van Gogh Museum. Again, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but I really enjoyed this exhibition, even though it was jam-packed full of people. It was a beautiful exhibition. It took you through the artist's life and his work, and it was really interesting. And then we looked out through the windows, out on the museum plain, which is a park located basically in the middle of lots of nice museums. And then we started walking again. We actually walked past the Sea Shepherd store and office, I guess, on the way to coffee, and we stopped by and checked it out. Then we had tea and coffee in the sun, and that's quite a thing for February, I think. Then we kept going on the trams, and we headed to Anne Frank's house, or Anne Frank's House Museum. I don't remember quite what it's called, but we couldn't film in there. But I recommend going there. It was really interesting and an important piece of history. That evening we headed to a restaurant called Meatless District, and we had really delicious food here. I think this was my favorite vegan restaurant in Amsterdam that I visited. And yeah, we had some apple cake again and some delicious desserts. I can really recommend this place. On the third day of our visit, we actually headed to the train station to go to where Rob's family used to live, and then also to Den Haag, or Den Haag, however you say it, or in English, The Hague. And that's something that's really nice about the Netherlands, that everything is sort of close together. So it only takes an hour on a train to get to Den Haag, or The Hague. And when we finally got to The Hague, after a lot of road tripping around, we went to a restaurant called Foam. And I can really recommend this place as well if you're visiting. We had delicious food, and something that's really nice about the restaurants in Netherlands, at least the vegan ones, is that they usually have kombucha. And here we all had a vegan BLT and salads, and then we shared cakes at the end. Afterwards, we walked around the city, and again, it's really beautiful, and I enjoyed all of the sights I saw in Netherlands. It's a beautiful country. On our fourth day in the Netherlands, we stayed in Amsterdam again, and we started with a little snack at a place called The Meats, which is a vegan place, I think, or maybe vegetarian. Again, in the area of Eau de Pape. And then we headed to a sustainable shop called Verse, which was beautiful. I loved it. And then we headed to lunch at Dear Mama, which is a vegan burger bar and milkshake place. And of course we had some milkshakes. I ate a bowl with noodles and vegetables, and Rob had the Beyond Burger, and Rob's mom had a tuna sandwich, or vegan tuna, that is, of course. After lunch, we headed to a boat trip around the canals. This is quite a tourist attraction, but it was nice seeing the city from a different perspective, and we could sit down and just relax for a while. And yeah, I just love all the canals in the city. It's really romantic and beautiful. On the way back from our Airbnb, we stopped off at Dear Mama again because we saw that they had vegan soft serve and it was really good, so we had that on the way back. Then the next day we actually took a train ride again to visit Haarlem. Haarlem is only about 15 minutes from Amsterdam and it's a really beautiful old city. We decided to visit the Frans Hals Museum here, which is an art museum dedicated to the artist Frans Hals. And the museum was again really beautiful, but I should mention that museums are pretty expensive in the Netherlands, but most of them are worth it, at least the ones I visited. Then we headed for lunch at a place called By Lima, and we had some salads and also some pancakes because, you know, balance. And then we just walked around again and enjoyed the city. When we got back to Amsterdam, we decided to go to a place called SLA to pick up some lunch bowls for our train journey the next day. And SLA is a lunch spot dotted around Amsterdam, so it's a little chain and it has lots of good vegan options. After that, we headed to a place called Juice Brothers, where they have Van Leeuwen ice cream, all vegan ice cream, which we of course had to try. And we had the pistachio and turmeric, and they were both very tasty. To finish off our culinary exploration of Amsterdam, we went to a pizza place called Mestino V. It's all vegan and also has gluten-free bases. And they were really tasty. I'll say that the wait was really long though, but actually food you have to wait for really long all over the Netherlands, so just be aware of that. And that was pretty cute that they put garlic instead of mince at the bar. So that concludes our trip, and the next day we headed home. I've put all the places we visited and enjoyed in a blog post, so I'll link that in the description. And going home, we just backtracked our train journey to Amsterdam. It was a really restful journey with very few people on the train, so we enjoyed it very much. And again, we went on the ferry, which was my favorite part of the trip. And now I'd just like to say thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you ever go to Amsterdam, I hope you'll find use for my guide. And if you live in Amsterdam or have been to Amsterdam and have any favorite places of your own, please let us know in the comments so we can all share our experiences. Now I wish you all a good day, night, whatever it is where you are, and I'll see you in the next one.